first order of business is we're having difficulties with the filming of the of us tonight. So Mr. Heston's promised that by our next meeting, we'll have a brand-new system in here. So we'll apologize to anybody that's watching it over, over the video there that it may go in and out. And we'd like to just make you aware of that. So with that, we'd like to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's remain standing. This evening, our kind and Heavenly Father, I come to you this evening not asking for things like we always do, but this evening, Lord, thanking you for things that you do for us. Thanking you for bringing us right here to this time, right here at this council meeting. Thanking you for all of these citizens that's involved in our county government, and thanking you for each and every one of these county council members here. Thanking you for each and every one of our county employees. Lord, we ask that you continue to bless our hearts so that we can continue to love one another in this community and continue to push this community forward. These and all other things, I ask in your Son, Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Dye. Okay, moving to number 3 on the agenda for is approval of the minutes for March the 4th, 2024. Any motion on that?
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes of March 4th, 2024.
Get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Vaughn. Who's that second? Okay, thank you. All right, is there any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all approve the minutes for March the 4th, 2024. Raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote.
I'm not going to vote because I wasn't here.
Oh, okay, I'll accept Mr. Wilson. He didn't attend that meeting, so that's good. All right, moving on to citizens' comments. I think we may have Mr. John Massey up.
John Massey, 171 East Lacey Street, Chester. I'm here commenting on the next generation of memorials for veterans and first responders. Asking Chester County to create and support a virtual memorial. A memorial that will be used to supplement any real-world memorials we have now. Provide visitors, outlying communities, access to memorials, remembrances locally where currently there are none. Why even bother? Chester County veterans and first responders, many gave their lives, others parts of their lives in service to others. They deserve to have their likenesses seen, their story told and preserved. We have collected hundreds of veterans remembrances, many first responders over the years, doing so with too few places to share them with the people of Chester County until this latest technology presented itself. Each of these nearly 80-year-old groupings of World War II veterans the audience is about to see, each veteran or first responder amongst hundreds would have a virtual memorial page similar to social media. These 28 survived the war, while too many others did not. Time I have left, I'll be reading their names. William H. Andrews, Ollie C. Ashley, Odell Bankhead, Hiram W. Brawley, Alvin Lee Castles, Charles B. Kugler, Joes Gaston Hollis, Lamar H. Kelsey, W. Ward Pegram, Prince A. Collins, Myron Sandifer, Jack P. Thompson, Robert White, Glenn W. Young, Ralph W. Atkinson, Thomas Leroy Bigham, Clarence C. Brown, John P. Brown, Arthur Cornwell, Morris J. Ehrlich Jr., Malcolm Lee Howell, Joseph C. James, L. Donald Latham, Marshall Long, John C. McFadden, Billy W. Smith, John B. Wright, Joe W. Yates. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Massey. All right, moving along to number 5 on the agenda is the public hearing. Now open this session for a public hearing on the third reading of 2024-6 to amend the chapter for administration, articles of the county council, section 2-26, clerk of the Code of Ordinance and the County of Chester, South Carolina. Does anybody like to speak on that? Not hearing, we'll close that part of the public hearing and open it up for number B, which is the third reading of 2024-7, revoking an existing employment personnel handbooks and related employee policies and procedures and their related enabling ordinances and resolutions, adopting an employee and personnel handbook, confirming the county's administrator's authority to set administrative employment policies and procedures, and making conforming changes to the county code of ordinance and providing for other related matters. Would anybody like to speak to that? All right, hearing none, we'll close that part of the public hearing and open it up for C, for the third reading of 2024-8, revoking existing procurement contracting policies, handbooks, and manuals, and related policies and procedures, and other related enabling ordinance, adopting a procurement contracting manual, including the use of purchase cards, confirming the county administrator's authority to set administrative policies and procedures, and making conforming changes to the county code of ordinance and providing for other related matters. Would anybody like to speak to that? All right. Hearing none, we'll close this portion of the this part of our agenda for the public hearing. All right, let's see. All right, on the ordinance and resolutions and proclamations, we'll vote on consent agenda for A, B, C, and D.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask that we remove item D from the consent agenda, as I have some comments I'd like to make.
Okay, we'll move it to, we'll move that to old business, to the first part of the old business on that.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
I'm not exactly sure how this works, but a sentence is apparently not correct in A. I don't know what the rest of that sentence should be, but should it be
To amend Chapter 2 Administrative Hours.
clerk of, and what is that in reference to?
I think that should be clerk of.
That's clerk council, and it's of the Code of Ordinances of Chester, South Carolina. So it's amending, excuse me.
You're fine. It's basically saying county council and then clerk, comma, so it addresses clerk,
I
county
mean,
council.
you correcting the English, are you correcting the English of that?
Mr. Cozart, go ahead.
Yes, sir. The way it is referenced in the code, that is the actual reference from the county code. It is Chapter 2 Administration, Article 2, County Council, comma, Section 2-26 dash clerk. So it is to amend all of that of the Code of Ordinances of the County of Chester, South Carolina. It is a little convoluted, but unfortunately, that's the way the code is annotated, so.
The capital T after that, no period, is what's confusing me.
The capital T.
It's referring to the Code of Ordinances.
I understand. In the title, in the ordinance itself, it's all capitalized, so I understood.
That answer your question?
Yeah.
That's fine. So, okay, we'll go ahead and vote on A, B, and C on this consent order then. Have a motion to do that?
I move that we approve the consent agenda, which are third reading of 2024-6, 2024-7, 2024-8.
All right, I need a second.
I'll second that.
All right, got a motion second. All in favor of approving this as a consent agenda for A, B, and C, raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. All in favor, thank you. All right, we move along to 7, which is the administrator's report.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Bear with me, please, council members. I will keep it short because I probably can't talk that long. We have posted for a county attorney, full-time county attorney position. It's been posted with South Carolina Association of Counties, as well as on our website, and then a couple of other methods in which we post for those positions. Mr. Killian, I talked to you, but I wanted to give an update. Mr. Guy, I think it's actually in your district, but we had some complaints about the railroad tracks. The first set of railroad tracks on York Road coming from the bypass. And Mr. Hall was able to make contact with the rail company there, and they actually, believe it or not, within about a week and a half, came out and fixed it and paved it. And I went out there myself and rode through that, and you literally had to go into the oncoming lane, not to beat your car up. So we got that one fixed. Appreciate you bringing that to our attention. We started budget meetings today, just for everybody's information. They started today. These are our initial budget meetings with departments, elected officials, and they'll run for the next 2 weeks. I think it's appropriate that we wish Miss Erin Mosley a happy belated birthday. Her birthday was yesterday, and so don't forget about her. I'm not going to even talk about how old she is because she's probably pretty young.
29's good.
29, there we go. April 6th, Saturday, April 6th, is Household Hazardous Waste Collection and Paper Shredding Day from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. here at the Government Complex. This was really well accepted last year, and something that we've done. We do it twice a year, correct? And do it for our citizens. And so there's flyers. We're going to post it on our Facebook page as well as to what you can bring up here. And I had a lot of questions too. What could you bring up here? But it's listed on. It'll be listed on our website and on the flyers. But I urge our citizens to take advantage of that. We'd rather you bring them up here and we take care of them than find them on the side of the road and have to pick them up and destroy our environment. So. Very important to take advantage of that free opportunity. Another bit of good news that Mr. Hall got me Friday afternoon, we've really kind of been going back and forth with South Carolina DOT with regard to the intersection at Commerce Drive. As everyone knows, we paved that first 210 feet roughly, and fixed where potholes have been patched, but seemed to be a lot of confusion as to the actual intersection and coming on the intersection. And at first, it was kind of met with a lot of resistance as to whose it was. But the good news is that we have gotten from the District 4 Assistant District Traffic Engineer, South Carolina Department of Transportation, word that it is scheduled to be repaired. They didn't give us a date, but it has been scheduled to be repaired. And I can't answer as to how it's going to be repaired. I think the only way to really fix that is concrete. Asphalt's going to probably continue to deteriorate over time. And while we're talking about DOT, we've been informed by DOT that they're operating about a year behind because of manpower, machines, whatever. And so a lot of the things that we expect them to take care of, we've been told that there may be some lag time in that now. One of the projects we had was the bypass cleanup and wanting to get the sidewalk sprayed, and then all the grass that if you notice now that spring's hit, that grass is growing over the sidewalks and into the road, and to really clean that up and make it look nicer. Robert is still working with them to try to get a timeline. They've got a machine that'll do it. We're also looking to see if we can get some, Robert, you called it an easement or a right-of-way for us to actually go in there and do some of the work ourselves instead of waiting for a year to get some of that done. It really needs to be done, and it'll help the looks of things. And then lastly, I wanted to call Mr. Chris Phillips up to the podium, please. And I think as all of council is aware, and I don't know if the public is aware, but Chris has tendered his resignation with the county. And I just want him a minute to be able to address council. He's taken another job in the private sector, and I'll let him tell about it. And it's something him and his family had to really pray long and hard about and think about, and it was a tough decision for him. But we hate to see you go, and we appreciate everything, the work you've done, just your professionalism. And I know council will want to comment as well. So we are going to have a little drop-in this Friday from, you know the times? 10 to noon? Okay. Just to say goodbye. He's not retiring, can't use that word retirement, you know, but he's way too young for that. But Chris, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Hester. I wish I could retire. That would be a great thing. Good evening, council. Just appreciate this opportunity to stand up and thank you all for your support for us over the last several years, the hard work that you've all done. Going back a little more than 3 years ago when I started here, over that time, working with Robert, we have, I don't know if you're aware of this, we've, in the history of South Carolina, Tier 3 and Tier 4 counties, we have landed 3 of the top 5 single largest investments in the history of our state. And that's not just Robert and I working, it's all of y'all's support contributing to that as well. And for the record, one of those 2 that isn't ours from the last 3 years is GT Tire. So Chester County does technically own 4 of the largest 5 investments in the history of South Carolina, Tier 3 and Tier 4 counties. So I would like to encourage you all to keep going on this path that you're going. You do a great job of helping us vet companies, making sure that projects are a good fit for Chester County and a good fit for the people here, which it has been a real pleasure for me to serve the citizens of this county and to work with you all. As Mr. Hester said, it's a tough decision for me. I'm going to be a consultant for a company. We're going to be helping counties, cities, towns with their planning, with their strategy, trying to help them become the best versions of themselves from an economic development perspective so that more people can enjoy the success that we've had here. So with that, I won't keep you all any longer, but I just really appreciate everything that you've done for us the last 3 years. And I hope that you will continue to support Robert in the same way that you have. I truly believe that he is the best economic development director in the state and probably the Southeast, and he is definitely up there in the entire country. And so I'm proud to have worked with him for the last 3 years, and I'm proud to have worked with all of you all. And I really appreciate that. Thank you.
I'd like to say thank you for the services you did for Chester County also, and you being in the consulting work, working with counties, so we got the inside track on some stuff that was, so you know who we are and what we are, so I feel sure you'll be looking out for Chester County for things coming in here. So we appreciate what you did, and you've done a great job while you were here, and we just want to, as chairman, I'd like to personally thank you for that.
Thanks, Mr. Brown.
I'd like to echo what Mr. Brown said. I'll never forget the Gallo days, the Gallo deal, and so many of the economic development projects that you and Robert have brought to us. I appreciate your hard work. I was not surprised by this announcement. I figured somebody would snap you up, and it sounds like you got a thing that you're really going to be great at.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Vaughn. I appreciate that.
I want to say one thing about Mr. Phillips. Mr. Phillips never brought any project in this county, and he nor Robert, to my knowledge, it would harm this county. We might not always agree with some of the things, but there was nothing brought in this county that would harm the citizens of this county or take advantage of them. And I really appreciate that, especially, I'm sure Ms. Mosley, we both live out there, and we really appreciate what you've done. I can't speak for that. I know what you did and what the kind of companies you brought in our area. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Thanks, Mr. Agee.
All right.
I didn't want to interrupt. I didn't know if somebody else was going to speak, but I just want to also say thank you. You've always been very nice, pleasant, professional, and just on point with everything that you've brought to us. So I do appreciate that, and I know you'll continue to do great things.
Thank you.
And we'll get a good shot at things too in the future, right? Wink, wink.
You got it. I'll never be far away. I'll always be a fan of Chester, and happy belated birthday.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
We spoke earlier, Chris, but, and we spoke about you leaving earlier. But, again, I want to thank you also. And, if you got a clone, send your clone this way.
Yeah.
I have faith that Robert will upgrade my position after I'm gone. Thank you.
Just say the same thing over and over, I know, but just want to thank you for your work here. You've done a good job for us, and you do still got the rest of the week, so just go land us another one before you leave.
I've got a meeting tomorrow on a project.
All right,
So,
perfect.
going to the final minute. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
All right.
That concludes my administrator's report, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you, Mr. Hester, for that, those comments. All right, moving along to number 8 on the agenda, old business, and we're gonna move, number D from the consent order, and I think Mr. Vaughn has something he'd like to say on that.
Yes, sir. I've learned some things. You know, we were, item D on the consent agenda was the second reading of the 2024-10, which included some text amendments of the litter ordinance. And it seems like this is a growing animal, a living document. And I've learned more, the longer time goes by, the more I learn about it. And unfortunately, I learned a little bit late this time. I found out that state law allows citizens to request of the magistrates when they get convicted of throwing trash on our highways, they can ask the magistrate to allow them to pay $15 for every hour that the magistrate has sentenced them to pick up litter. So if you got sentenced for 6 hours, if you got $90, you don't have to pick up any litter. You just go your merry way. Throw down some more litter, because it didn't hurt you any, if you got the money. And the thing that gives me heartburn about that is, and Mr. Kozlar, I want you to pay attention to everything I'm saying, because some of it might be wrong, and I'd like you to let me know if it is. 50 years ago, I remember my dad being all up in the air about home rule. Well, this state law, and another thing I learned is preemption this week. State law preempts county ordinances, so I can change the county ordinance all to pieces. I can make all kind of changes, but if it does not agree with state law, the judges will go by the state law because it preempts the county ordinance. And to me, that makes, this is where I might be going wrong, Mr. Kozlar, that makes home rule not apply to the litter ordinance. So that's my number one gripe. I do want this second reading to go through, because it does take away the section about the court having to supervise people that are sentenced, and that's a good change. We need to go ahead and pass second and third reading of this ordinance. But I just wanted the public to know about these conditions, about preemption and about the $15 an hour versus picking up litter for an hour. Mr. Kozlar, what say you?
I was also not aware of the $15 per hour. Preemption is slightly more involved than that, but generally I think what you said is accurate, that if state law is intending to consume the field of a particular area of law, then it does preempt. The political comment about home rule, I am probably better not to say anything, but home rule is not as home rule as I think people think it is.
I'll probably give you that.
And with regard, just for other council members, and Mr. Vaughn and I have talked through this a little bit, but we've actually spoke to some of our magistrates with regard to preemption, but they cannot, as a magistrate, give a legal opinion as well. And the only way that this will be, there'll be a determination if state law preempts, is when a case goes in front of a magistrate and a judge makes a ruling and a judge gives an opinion, whether state law preempts it or not. So it's not a guaranteed that this ordinance does. It really depends on interpretation as to that. And so really, we're going to have to try one of these to see what the courts issue as an opinion or a ruling, and then an opinion on that ruling. And then we always have the right to appeal that process up as well.
That's a logical next step, is it not?
That's correct. If this passes through, Mr. Vaughn, then the logical next step would be the next case that would be heard, a judge at that time would have to decide, or a magistrate would have to make a decision whether the state law preempted this ordinance or not.
I was shocked when I saw the change in the state law, and this was a fairly recent change, that business of paying $15 an hour rather than picking up trash. I'm gonna tell you something. If I had to choose between picking up trash for 6 or 8 hours or paying $15, I'm gonna pay that $15 all day long. But my problem is, I don't think that that's gonna change somebody's mind about littering. Part of the thing about picking up trash is it's hard, and it's not something that's fun to do, and it's a good teacher for people that don't have a problem with chunking a beer can out the window. You're crippling the litter laws of South Carolina when you make a change like this. So if you agree with me, I encourage you to call your state legislatures and ask them what's going on with this. And that's all of my comment.
Well, if I remember reading all this, I wasn't concerned about the trash pickup, but there's a significant problem with the court system, because a lot of the magistrates are not judges. And what the legislature is doing is making it where they will have to be judges and have to answer.
It's lawyers, not judges. They're all judges, but they're not all lawyers.
That's true, but they gotta have a judge as far as that go, and that's what the issue is. The magistrate could be anybody, and could be appointed. And what the legislature is doing, because of what you just got through saying, they're all lawyers. Pardon me, Mr. House Lord. But they're all lawyers. There's 3 of them in my family, and they know everything.
Well, in Chester County, there's only one attorney that's a magistrate. I don't know about the other rural counties, but it's very difficult for a rural county to pay the salary that it takes to put an attorney in a magistrate's office. They typically will work in a law practice alongside being a magistrate judge. It's a complex problem all across the state. It's not just in Chester County, but I still stand by my statement that letting people pay $15 a pop to versus picking up trash, that's a bad move.
I picked all the trash up out of my yard the other day on Highway number 9. I felt the John Deere Gator slam up. I went to the house to speak to my wife, came back and had to pick trash up again.
That's the way every road in Chester County is. All right, I'm finished.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, the code section that Mr. Vaughn was referencing is 1611-700 sub-item G, sub-item 1, just in case anybody wants to look up the $15 per.
Would you repeat that, please?
Yes, sir.
For the public?
Yes, sir. It is code section 16 11-700-G1.
So when you call your legislator up and ask him what in the world's going on, throw that number out at him.
All right, Mr. Vaughn, I thank you for those comments and everything.
Now, we need,
It's no change to the,
No.
to the second reading on this.
I
that
need,
we
we need a
have, but I
motion
think-
now to approve second reading.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can do that.
I'll make that motion that we approve the second reading of 2024-10.
Okay, need a second on that?
Second.
Second, got a motion and a second there. My comment on that is, as far as the home rule or what's on the state ordinances on there, we can add to that and make it stiffer, but I don't think we can degrade it any. Is that correct, Mr.?
We are not doing anything as far as I know.
I know that, but I was just making a statement that we can add to what they have to make it maybe a little bit stiffer or more teeth to it.
I think Mr. Vaughn's point was if the magistrates feel as though they are compelled by state law, that the state law penalties are as much or as little as they can do,
Okay.
then they may follow the state law rather than the ordinance.
Ordinance for the
And the idea is the county could appeal from that to determine ultimately which would control.
All right. Any further comment? Hear no further comment. All in favor of the second reading of 24-10, raise your right hand and say aye.
All right.
Unanimous vote. Thank you. All right, moving along again to A under old business is the resolution of 2024-2 to amend the county organizational chart to provide for reorganization and position in animal control and emergency services and to provide for related matters. All right.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, before the motion, just to clarify that, it was on last week as an ordinance to change the organizational charts for both of those. After a little bit of research this week, the short of it is, we felt that we needed an ordinance because the organizational charts are adopted when the budget's adopted and the budget goes through the three readings. However, when, as we're reviewing our code of ordinances, there is nothing that says that the organizational charts have to go through an ordinance and that they're merely can be passed or approved with a resolution. Thus, we have just changed this week simply that to make this a resolution. So a vote for an affirmative for this week will be the last vote, the last time this is seen, and we'll just negate last week's vote for approval as an ordinance, just to clarify that.
Okay, that is an ordinance that will pass with one reading where an ordinance passes with three and a resolution with pass with just one reading on it. So
Correct.
I need a motion on that for the resolution to pass on first reading.
I make a motion, we do it, and I want to discuss it.
All right, need a second?
A second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Clarify Resolution 2024-22, amend the county organization chart to provide for reorganization and positions in animal control and emergency services. What does that mean, in emergency services?
So, excuse me, give me 1 second to pull my organizational chart. So when, I'll try to get you the exact date. During fiscal year 2023, 2024, when the approval of the budgets and organizational chart went into place, fire coordinator's office was changed when we combined the EMS director and the fire coordinator, who was director over that office. We combined that leadership into what was called emergency services, right? And under that was EMS and fire coordinator's office. So emergency services, just the combination of those two under one leadership.
So it's emergency services, what we used to call the old fire coordinator's office.
It is combined under emergency
And
services,
with
and so,
EMS.
yes, sir. And with regard to, because it's not called fire coordinator's office anymore, the org chart simply just looks like the director of emergency services, a deputy director's position, which is frozen, and then up under that, you have part-time firefighters that fill in some of our volunteer stations and so forth throughout the county. And then the addition of the Great Falls structure to cover that full-time, which is the firefighters, and then the 8 to 5 Monday through Friday leadership position, which is listed as a captain's position. That's what, again, not to get too caught up in the terminology of that position, but it would be the leader of that position. And I know you had a question last council meeting, which rural fire, and I had to go back, and you and I talked a little bit, I had to go back and kind of look. Rural fire had not been in our organizational chart. We couldn't find it anywhere. It had always been under, rural fire was actually never an organizational chart. Rural fire is a separate ordinance that the board, the commission, represents all of our volunteer firefighters. That is part of under the old fire coordinator's office, part-time firefighters would fill in rural fire, which the whole county was rural fire back then. So we haven't really changed anything. We aren't calling, even though I use some different terminology sometimes to say county fire or rural fire, there is nothing really on our organizational chart that delineates, sorry about that, that, and we keep that because the ordinance takes care of that.
Well, in no disrespect to anybody, the rural fire ordinance was created many, many years ago, obviously. I actually have a copy of it. The fire coordinator was originally hired to work for rural fire. And we'll advance up to recently, and the fire coordinator didn't like working for rural fire, and that's a very nice way of saying it. So the former county supervisor changed it. And I would assume an ordinance was passed to do that. I don't remember that, but let's just assume that the fire coordinator's office was taken out from under the supervision of rural fire. Their budget was taken out from under the supervision of rural fire. And the fire coordinator's office had their own budget. And so you had two heads trying to do something. I don't have an issue with what you are saying. We cannot not have rural fire. Rural fire's got to play a role in the fire services of Chester County. If they don't work for Cale, they work for the 7 men and women on this council, as I understand it, is because we appoint them
You're talking about rural fire commission?
at the Rural Fire Commission. So what I don't want to do is make those guys mad, and we got to be real careful with that. I just advise you of that, because this morning is a classic example. Mr. Benson went to a wreck on Old Richburg Road, and there was a whole bunch of people over there, including paid guys from Chester, paid guys from Richburg, and volunteers. And I think he ended up being the LZ commander, landing the helicopter, if I remember hearing all that. So it's got to be a working relationship between those two.
Okay, any further comments? Here's no further comments. I think we got a motion and a second on this. All in favor of passing 2024-2, raise your right hand, say aye. Aye. Unanimous vote. All right, moving along to new business. Number 9, resolution for 2024-3, authorizing the transfer of certain personnel property and providing for other related matters. Need a motion on that for discussion.
I'll make a motion, we approve Resolution 2024-3.
All right, need a second?
Second.
Second? Okay, and open it up for discussion. You, Mr. Hester, do you mind just telling us a little bit? I know we got a copy of what's listed on there for us up for sale, but where is this? It's gonna be an auction and where and when?
I'll let Mr. Robert Hall come up. He can explain it to council, but again, we take things to auction twice a year to dispose of equipment and vehicles at this specific auction. So I'll let Mr. Hall speak on that.
Good evening, Chairman Branham, council members, and Mr. Hester. I'm here to discuss or offer any answers to you guys if you have any questions about any of the vehicles that we're going to requesting to be auctioned off March the 23rd at 10 a.m. here in Richburg on 2120 Lyle Road. Randy Ligon is the one that's putting this auction on, and we do this twice a year, or we try to.
Okay, look like that most sheriff department vehicles and some rural fire, is that right? That's the way I looked at it.
Yes, sir. There's rural fire and some of motor pools and some of the sheriff's office.
Can you tell me where the public can find this list?
Where the public can find this list?
I don't know, is it online?
It'll be on Mr. Ligon's website, and I can't remember what they call that site, if anybody here might know.
Yeah, proxy bid.
I'm sorry?
Proxy bid.
Proxy bid.
And it would also be in the packet, wouldn't it?
It will be.
In our packet? Yeah, it's on page, on what?
And we have 3 sheriff's office
It's on the
vehicles.
packet here. It's 32, I believe, page 32.
We have 3 sheriff's office vehicles, 7 motor pool facilities, maintenance vehicles, and 1 fire coordinator pickup. So we don't have a whole lot that's going this time. We had a little bit bigger list last time, but I
Yes,
think
sir.
we cleaned out a little bit last time. So our goal is just to kind of, as council approves the purchase, which we did with the capital reserve account, if everyone remembers, of some more pool cars and so forth. We buy something, we try to get rid of something. That's the game plan.
Like you said, Mr. Ligon's gonna have this, and there'll be a whole lot of other stuff on auction at the same time. So this is not the only thing gonna be auctioned off.
Yes, sir.
There'll be a whole lot of other items on that list. Is there any further questions or comments?
This is the way we've always got rid of our vehicles. We've always auctioned them off. We haven't tried to sell them ourselves. We just always try to auction them.
Yes, sir. We've always sent them to an auction to sell them.
Mr. Guy, we actually looked at one other option when I first came here last year. And I used several different means when I was in Florida with these vehicles, including some national. Looking at the numbers that we get, we seem to get pretty good money for the vehicles going through the proxy bid and how we've been doing it. It's also local. You don't have to deal with a lot of the international stuff. It's some sight unseen. Even though I've had success on certain items through that, sometimes if people show up and they don't like it, then you start all over with the process, and so it gets a little tricky. We did do some analytics with Gov Deals, right? Gov Deals, and we met with them at one of the conferences and really wanted to give them the opportunity. And we really didn't get anything substantial out of that. Not saying we won't give them another opportunity, but we try to spread the wealth. Again, one of the reasons at the conferences, you see all those vendors there, we try to find people, again, to give an opportunity, and we'll do a sampling sometimes.
Any further questions for Mr. Hall? All right, thank you, Mr. Hall. All right, we got a motion and a second on this. No further discussion. All in favor of the resolution for 2024-3, raise your right hand and say aye. All right. Unanimous vote. Okay, let's see here. Okay, under B, the Animal Control Department updates, Jessica Ruckert, Animal Control Director. She's gonna come up and talk to us.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of council. I too am fighting a cold. I'm bringing water in case I get choked up. You all formerly knew me as Jessica Ruckert. I recently went through a name change, and I'm now Jessica Roof, which is my maiden name. Tonight I'm here to give you guys a quick update on some of the things that have been implemented before me and have now come to play since I have been here. As most of you may know already, the public is becoming increasingly concerned about the treatment of animals in society, which is leading us to focus on preventing animal cruelty alongside with rescuing and treatment of the mistreated animals. At Chester Animal Control, we have begun to capitalize on this trend by focusing on prevention-based programs that we like to call community outreach. Community outreach has become an important part of the job description for animal shelter workers nationwide. In order to be successful, we need to be able to connect with the community and promote the benefits of adopting pets from their local shelters. We also must understand the needs of our community and educate the youth on proper pet care and proper restraint. I'm most excited to share with you our newly introduced TNR program, Trap, Neuter, and Return. In this program, we have feral cats that will receive ear tips, alters, and rabies vaccines. We've partnered with Final Victory Rescue and Top Gun Vet, who travel to our facility in a mobile clinic once a month for TNR alters, and while at our facility, they offer low-cost vaccines to Chester County residents, rabies being just $10. Since the beginning of this program in November of 2023, we have successfully altered and returned 132 feral cats within Chester County. This program is fully funded by low-cost alter grants. Roughly, we're averaging about 33 cats a month right now. Grant funding is also supporting our continued community pet low-cost spay and neuter program. We have been offering this program to Chester County residents under the instruction that is under now since December 2021. This is a big number. This program has assisted in the alter of over 1,600 pets within the community of Chester County since December of 2021. The best part is this program is also funded by grants from the Lutz Foundation, Hoof and Paw South Carolina, Project Safe Pet, and even county fund matches. Rates right now currently for Chester County residents are $30 for cats and $40 for dogs. We are able to currently alter 28 animals a month. Each animal in this program receives an alter, a rabies vaccine, and a microchip. The microchip is registered through animal control to the pet parent. Therefore, if the animal is called out, we can scan the animal and return the animal to home. We also offer programs such as food assistance within our animal food bank. These supplies are donated by several different organizations and residents within our county. Chester residents that are in need may come once a month to the shelter and sign up to receive some sort of assistance with food. We also offer assistance for cold weather bedding. These supplies are donated to Animal Control. This year's supply was over 200 bales donated by Bobby Carroll and Brian Saunders. We also have programs that will assist in restraint solutions via donations from rescues and volunteers. These programs include things from trolley lines, kennel assistance, and repairs within the community. We will continue to educate the youth through school programs. We are going to be at Louisville Elementary School, on Career Day, which is May 28th this year. Also, we have several adoption events coming up. We are going to be at Downtown Paul's in Waxhaw, North Carolina on Sunday, April the 7th from 11 to 3. We're going to be doing an adoption event here in Chester at Wild Bees. We're going to be doing that April 19th from 5 to 8 p.m. We're also looking into possibly having an adoption event at Lansford Canal and Chester State Park. That's still in the works. We have no date set at the moment. I invite all of you guys to come out and enjoy that time with us. We will be sharing updates on these events on Facebook as well. Recently, we've come up with a new program that I'm pretty excited about. We're working with a career center here in Chester. They are going to work with us on building and construction within their carpentry program, fully constructed donation dog houses that we are going to be able to offer residents in need here in the county. And last week, we submitted advertisement that we're going to be featured in the Chester State Park guest guides. It's going to be a QR code. You can scan it. You can access things like all of our adoptable animals, found recent animals, donation lists, all sorts of things there. I want to talk to you a little bit about some numbers on the backside, on the road side of things. Since July 2023, we have received 765 animal welfare calls in Chester County. These are including things like stray, neglect, animal bite, cruelty cases, the demand is definitely there within the road. These numbers are still strong, and they're a reflection as to why we needed those part-time positions to maintain the shelter a little better. A fun fact, the majority of these calls come in Mondays and Wednesdays at 12 o'clock noon and 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Since July 2023, we have received into the shelter 327 dogs and 81 cats. Again, since July 2023, we have adopted out 213 dogs and 60 cats.
Will you repeat
That's
those
an average
numbers?
of 27 animals a month.
Will you repeat those two facts?
Yes, sir. Since July 2023, we have received into the shelter 327 dogs and 81 cats. Again, since July 2023, 213 of those dogs have been adopted out, along with 66 cats. That's an average of 27 animal adoptions a month. We have also received roughly about $5,000 in individual donations to our shelter and the pets in the community. I just want to say, you guys, none of this would be possible without the continued support of our administration, our council, and our grant matches and funds, and I just say thank you to everybody. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, I'd like to ask you.
Yes, sir.
What is the adoption fee for a dog and a cat, and what, I think you went over some of that, what do you do each one of those animals and why we have to charge that?
So it's $50 for an adoption for a cat, and it's $50 for dog and $20 for cats. This includes all the preemptive work. So you're talking alters, intake, that's all your basic exams, your basic vaccines. That's going to get everybody microchipped so that if they do get removed from their home, we can reunite them. That also includes basic care, like they'll get a routine exam at the vet. The vet will kind of once them over, and if there's any concerns, they'll let us know. We heartworm test for dogs, and we FIV, FELV test for cats.
Thank you. Maybe that's to somebody, if we're on camera tonight, that'd be a lot for the public to
Yes,
know that,
sir.
and thank you for
Yes,
that.
sir.
Is there any further questions from Ms.?
I remember, we discussed changing the adoption fees, what was it, a year or two ago? And we debated back and forth on how much to make the thing. We were leery of making it too much. We didn't want to stop the adoptions. You think we've got a good fee schedule?
I think we have a good fee. Right now, actually mirroring other surrounding counties, we're actually coming in still a little lower, which draws attention. The location of the shelter right now, the baseball field, this is prime time for us, and courthouse as well, but we've got a lot of traffic right now, and so adoptions are still holding strong.
I
Yes,
know
sir.
we did discuss that, but I was thinking it was something like $75 for a dog.
We
I didn't know.
discussed a lot of different numbers.
That's what I said.
Some of them pretty high.
You did discuss it at 75, but we agreed on 50.
Okay. I knew I'd heard that figure somewhere, so we'd have to go back to the minutes to get it. My memory doesn't quite pull that up.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Ms. Ruckert?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say thank you to their team. Laura's out in the audience tonight
She
as
is.
well. You know, there was a point about 6 months ago, it was Laura and Jesse, and that was it. And they held it together, and you guys didn't hear a lot of complaints, you know? And so I just thank them for the job they've done. I'll tell you that council a year ago didn't hear the type of statistics that you heard tonight, and about days, numbers. And so, you know, Jesse's always coming by. She's always got a list of improvements and different things and projects. And so I think it's important for you guys to hear that and realize how they're growing. And Jesse and Laura, their staff, are working close with the construction of the new animal shelter. And Jesse's really taken that and done a great job of not overbuilding that project and building to our needs, not the gold standard, but what we need and what's suitable for our county. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And, is this one of your new employees? I don't think I've met. Would you like to introduce her?
This one back here, I wouldn't know about new, but she's been here a lot longer than I have. That's Laura Long.
She just doesn't come out of the building too much over
That's
there.
what I say. What's her name?
Laura Long.
Okay, good. Well, welcome to the dog team.
Thank you.
All right. And also, since you brought up the animal building that we're gonna do, where are we at in the process of building our new facility?
We're still kind of finishing up the architecture phase of that. Mr. Hayes he's been hardcore on the architects. He hasn't been happy with a few things, and so he's been pulling the reins pretty tight. But I think within the next month, it should go out past what they call a conceptual and just schematic drawings, and we should be getting some hard drawings and cost opinions for what Jesse and them have kind of come up with. I think you guys finalized everything about a week or two ago, right?
Yeah, we have a meeting tomorrow.
Okay. So it's still, they meet about every 2 weeks, and follow up, so they're moving ahead with it.
Good, thank you. I know that was a hot item here a year ago. We'd had people in here every council meeting talking about that animal control building and everything, so that's good news to hear that it's up and running and in the process of being completed.
They've taken a real common sense approach to it.
Yeah, good, thank you.
The animal shelter's been a hot item ever since I've been serving. I remember when I first started serving, people coming in here and just getting downright irate with us. And so, the fact that we're actually about to make some movement on this, animal shelter building, that's huge.
Yeah, it is, that's great. Because I think it's sorely needed, and I know it's a lot of the interest out in the county about this, because, and thank you, Ms. Drockett, for what you do out there and how you treat these animals and everything. All right, moving along to number 10 on the agenda, boards and commissions. The reappointment of 2 members of the Radio Users Advisory Committee, John Faulkner, EMS, and Ben Grant, Sheriff's Office, term renewal of March the 15th, 2024.
Make a motion, we appoint Ben Grant and John Faulkner to the Radio Advisory Committee, but I do have one question.
All right, we're doing it on the, get a second.
A second.
Second by Ms. Mosley, okay, any discussion?
If, my understanding, Mr. Grant works for emergency management. Is that, he's listed down here working for the sheriff's office, but he actually is paid by the emergency management, isn't he?
He is a part-time employee for emergency management, but is he a medic? Well, I don't know why that's on the sheriff's office, to be honest. I'm sorry? Oh, okay, that's what I thought. So he's an SRT medic with the sheriff's office. So he must be going to be one of their representatives as the SRT medic for the sheriff's office.
Darn you. All right, any further?
I don't have a problem with it. I'm just curious, if he's got 2 jobs, is he getting paid by twice?
That's, Mr. Tate, do you want to speak to that, sir? So that's a volunteer position, correct? Thank you.
Okay.
All right, any further discussion?
Yeah, just for the public's knowledge, Mr. Hester, could you explain to the public exactly what the Radio Users Advisory Committee does and what's their responsibilities?
How about I have Mr. Benson talk about that? That was one before me, but basically that, and I'll give you the short and let Kel give you the details, but that committee, the new system that the county's got, where the radios go, what kind of channels, and talking to each other from different agencies as well as counties and so forth, that's their job to deal with all that, as well as future issues with our system.
Council, Mr. Guy, so the radio user group, the county changed radio system effective July of last year, July of '23. It's the huge upgrade for Chester County. So what that has done for us is basically taken us from about 3 channels to where we could talk. Sometimes I get lucky if I could talk from here to here and get through. Now it's digital, and to basically make sure that things work good, it's like going from for most of us that will know this, but a rotary dial, and you missed that one number, you got to start all over. Well, now it's like having a smartphone. You've got different templates, channels. You can talk to somebody from here to Charleston, all across the state. The biggest part is
how are the templates set up? So the templates for the sheriff's department need to be labeled in a little bit different than fire or EMS. Also, you got to have some input from the different distinct agencies as far as terminology, what are the needs, the wants, and same thing goes. These radios now aren't the analog telephones. They have to be upgraded, flashed, where they basically don't become big paperweights. So we meet roughly once a month, and currently one of the things that we're discussing is policies, like on the fire side of things, where if we were to have an emergency, what channel do we operate off of? There's a emergency button on top that we can use, and where does that take us? Same thing that we're dealing with Gallo in our industries, that's something that probably isn't thought about a lot, but our teams, when they come in and say what they're going to be proposing, is our radio system going to work there for our emergency responders? So there's a lot into it just outside of talking on the radio, but when you go into a building that's nothing but steel and concrete, are you going to be able to get out and talk to who you need to?
Do any of our other municipalities within the county, are they on the same system?
Yes, sir. The whole
So-
county is on it.
Okay, so, but the county funds this. The municipalities don't pay anything into the use of these radio systems.
I cannot speak on what the municipalities pay.
They do?
I don't know. I know
I'm
this
just
system.
curious, just.
I do not know off the top of my head, sir.
Okay.
But Great Falls and the city of Chester are on the 800.
They use the same system?
Yes, sir.
So do they have representatives on this committee also?
Yes, sir. Let's see.
And the reason why I asked that is because I remember in the past, this was a few years ago, there was a disagreement about use of radio. The city using channels that the county was using. I remember some chit chat about that being a problem.
Right.
That's the reason why I was asking that question.
Fort Lone Police Chief, it kind of represents all of the police chiefs in the county, whereas, you know, the sheriffs have theirs. And you have myself that represents the fire coordinator's office, as it was previously called. And then Mr. Melton represents the fire chiefs. So that there's multiple people in there to represent the multiple different
So
agencies.
ultimately, there's no issues with the municipalities using this system?
No, sir.
Along with the county?
But the biggest thing is just making sure that the radios are up to date. You know, one of the discussions we had in our last meeting, I think the city of Chester, I think on the police side, has some radios that are getting ready to be non-compatible anymore. So Ms. McMurray leads that and makes sure that they're up to date on having current radios.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
You might not know the answer to this question, but do these new ones work at Lance Ford?
Yes, sir.
That's huge.
They work really good at Woods Ferry. I'll just let Mr. McMurray explain this to y'all one day, but I think he was out in Woods Ferry in a very rough spot that we've always had poor reception. And I think the story goes he went into one of the outhouses just to make sure that even in a brick building at Woods Ferry, he was still getting out with 33% radio power and signal. So
I've seen some situations where people were lost or overturned at Lance Ford, and the fire guys and rescue guys could not communicate. It was just a major problem. I'm tickled to death that that's been alleviated.
it's been a big upgrade for our county, so we appreciate it. And it's definitely a system that's going to continue to need our input and support of. So thank y'all for getting us an updated radio system.
I know all this didn't come about without a lot of effort and everything. I think I may be wrong on my figure on this thing, but I think some of the council members that's been here for a while, I think that system cost about $10 million?
Yes, sir. It
I
was
think
not cheap.
10, and Doug with the sheriff department, it had to do with the towers and a whole bunch of equipment. And so it's just this come about and happened. It probably took several years to get this. Is that right, Mr. Tate? It took several years to get this by to get us to where we were up to par with others, so we could communicate with, I think, with SLED and a whole lot of other things in the police departments around. So it's
Yes, sir.
it was a great improvement for us communication with our
Well, it
police
definitely,
department, fire department, everything.
it definitely is, Mr. Chairman. Y'all making the decision to go to 800, what we call it 800 system. It's used by SLED and a great majority of the police forces and the EMS forces in the state of South Carolina. So there's a lot of ability to do that and communicate throughout the state.
Can I give you a good example on that, Mr. Agee? I think you're hitting on was when we had the Carolina Poly fire. We were not on the 800 radio system
That's
then.
absolutely true.
And that was a
Nightmare.
undertaking within itself just to communicate with people at that fire. So had we been on that system when that fire happened, not all, but a majority of the outside response, we'd already be able to talk to.
There have been 2 cases, Carolina Poly is one, Mr. Guy, to try to put it in perspective, there was a wreck several years ago on I-77 where we had numerous people killed, tractor trailers on fire and everything. And I love to say in about 10 seconds, all the resources of Chester County were utilized. And Mr. White, it used to be over EMS at Piedmont.
Yes, sir.
He came down and stood right beside the IC on I-77 with 800, and they had 5 helicopters landing on I-77, and all that was coordinated through that 800 radio system. So Chester County going in there and getting that in position has been a very good thing. The radio committee has been, I think, a real asset to look at the different problems within the county, so everybody's all talking to each other. So kind of a rare situation, but I think they do a real good job, and I think the system is where we need to be.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any further discussion or questions from Mr. Benson?
Thank you, Mr. Guy.
Thank you, Mr. Benson. All right, all in favor for the reappointment of Mr. Faulkner and Mr. Grant, raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. Unanimous vote on that. All right, moving along to 11, on the executive session. We're going into executive session to legal advice concerning Chester County wastewater recovery. I need a motion to go into executive session.
I make a motion that we go into executive session.
Got a motion? Need a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Moe. All in favor?